Over the course of just 50 years, the galaxy had seen 4 devastating conflicts. Exar Kun, the Mandalorians, Revan and the Sith Triumvirate had laid waste to countless planets and brought the Jedi to the very brink of extinction. However, after the death of Kreia, 3,951 years before the Battle of Yavin, peace returned to the galaxy. The Republic believed its darkest days were behind it. The Sith Empire, once a powerful threat, was no more, its members scattered and in hiding. The few remaining Jedi, shattered and broken, began their long road to recovery, while the war-weary Republic turned inward to rebuild. But this peace was built on a foundation of ignorance. Far from the Republic's watchful gaze, in the unexplored depths of the unknown regions, a far greater threat had been growing in strength for over a millennium. The true Sith, led by a being of unimaginable power, had not been defeated during the Great Hyperspace War, as the Republic believed. They had merely been waiting, biding their time, preparing for the moment to strike back and reclaim the galaxy. This is the story of the rise of the Sith Emperor and the rebirth of the Sith Empire. After the Sith's devastating defeat in the Great Hyperspace War, 2,000 years before the events in this story, the Republic believed it had wiped out every last trace of the ancient Sith Empire. Thousands of Republic ships scoured the galaxy, hunting down and destroying every known Sith outpost and stronghold. The Jedi led the charge, cleansing the galaxy of dark side influence wherever they found it. But one Sith Lord escaped the Republic's purge, a Sith Lord far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. His name was Tenebrae, and his hunger for power set him apart from other Sith Lords. As a child, he mastered the dark side of the Force, seizing control of his planet from his Sith Lord father by the age of 8. By the time he reached adulthood, he had achieved the unthinkable: immortality. Tenebrae's dark side ritual after the end of the Great Hyperspace War was unlike anything seen before or since. On his homeworld of Nathema, he drained the life force from every living being, every person, every animal, every plant, until the planet itself became a lifeless husk. He absorbed the energy of millions, including thousands of powerful Sith refugees, granting himself the power to live forever. This act of unimaginable evil transformed Tenebrae into the Sith Emperor, and with his newfound immortality, he began to plan his ultimate revenge against the Republic. While the Republic celebrated its victory after the Great Hyperspace War, Tenebrae took the remnants of the Sith Empire and fled into the unknown regions. There, on the remote world of Dromund Kaas, he began to rebuild. For over 1,000 years, the galaxy forgot about the Sith. But the Sith Emperor did not forget about the galaxy. He spent centuries gathering power, perfecting his dark side abilities, and ensuring that the Sith Empire would rise stronger than ever before. He forged alliances, recruited new followers, and trained legions of Sith who would one day bring the galaxy to its knees. To maintain control over his growing empire, Tenebrae formed the Dark Council, a group of 12 powerful Sith Lords who managed the day-to-day affairs of the Empire. The Dark Council ensured that the Empire remained efficient, militarized, and ever-expanding. However, none of the Dark Council members ever dared to challenge the Emperor's authority. His power was absolute, and his immortality made him a living god in the eyes of his followers. The Sith Emperor's vision stretched far beyond mere dominance. Tenebrae sought not only to conquer the Republic, but to annihilate it utterly. His ultimate goal was nothing less than the destruction of all life in the galaxy, a ritual that would grant him infinite power by feeding off the death and destruction caused by war. While the Sith Empire was building its strength in the unknown regions, the Republic was struggling to recover from the devastation caused by the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, and the terrors of Darth Nihilus. The Republic's leadership was fragmented, its economy shattered, and its military stretched thin across a galaxy still plagued by unrest. For decades, the Republic turned inward, focusing on internal struggles and ignoring the warning signs of a greater threat. The Sith were forgotten, relegated to the pages of history books, while the Jedi became increasingly isolated. But not all in the galaxy were blind to the danger. At the end of the Jedi Civil War, Revan had left to find the true Sith Emperor once more. As we explored in the last video in this Star Wars Legends timeline, the Jedi exile also left to find Revan and the true Sith, intent on finding the dead world of Nathema. Upon landing on that ruined planet, the exile immediately felt the desolation of the void, a sensation different from the lingering pain she had experienced on the destroyed world of Malachor V. Where Malachor was filled with the echoes of suffering, Nathema was utterly dead. There was no life, no force, no sign that the planet had ever been anything more than a barren wasteland. Disturbed to her core, the exile and T3 managed to slice into a government network, uncovering the horrifying truth. Nathema had once been a thriving world, until the Sith Emperor had enacted a dark ritual that consumed the entire planet, erasing every trace of life. With T3's slicing skills, they uncovered the hyperspace route to Dromund Kaas, setting a new course for the heart of the Sith Empire. Upon arriving at Dromund Kaas, Surik's path led her into the depths of the enemy's domain. Through intermediaries and careful negotiations, she arranged a meeting with the Sith Lord from T3's recording, Lord Scourge. Though the encounter began with bloodshed, the two eventually found common ground after Surik told Scourge the truth about Nathema. Scourge revealed that Revan was being held captive by Darth Nihilus, a member of the Dark Council. Scourge and Surik formed an uneasy alliance, infiltrating the compound and freed Revan from his cell. But their reunion was short-lived, as the jailer named Darth Nihilus entered, intent on killing Revan. Revan, now fully restored, unleashed the Force and turned Nihilus's dark powers against her, annihilating the Sith Lord. Their victory came at a terrible price. The Emperor, seizing upon the chaos, purged the entire Dark Council, declaring martial law over Dromund Kaas. The trio, Surik, Revan, and Scourge, fled into hiding, plotting their next move. Scourge, however, was haunted by a vision of the future. In a nightmarish premonition, he saw himself and his Jedi allies broken before the Emperor's overwhelming power. The next day, under the guise of loyalty to his new Jedi allies, Scourge led Surik and Revan into the Imperial Citadel, hoping to strike at the Emperor directly. But the plan unraveled when the guard captain recognized Revan's mask, and they were forced into a brutal battle with the Imperial Guards. As Revan pressed on to confront the Emperor, Surik and Scourge fought valiantly to keep the guards at bay. Surik reached the Emperor's throne room just as Revan was being overpowered. The Emperor, wielding Revan's own lightsaber, prepared to strike the final blow. Surik, in a split-second decision, chose to save Revan rather than attack the Emperor. She deflected the killing strike, but her hesitation proved fatal. In that moment of weakness, Lord Scourge, seeing no other path to stop the Emperor's invasion, betrayed Surik. He drove his lightsaber through her back, ending the life of the Jedi exile. With Surik's death, Revan was captured, and Lord Scourge cemented his place within the Sith hierarchy. The Jedi exile's journey had ended in betrayal, but her legacy lived on. Her sacrifice would ripple through the galaxy, shaping events for centuries to come. For years, Revan was held in stasis, his mind probed for knowledge that could aid the Sith in their return. However, Revan had also secretly manipulated Tenebrae with the Force. He planted seeds of doubt within the Emperor, causing him to delay his invasion by another 250 years. This delay allowed the Republic time to rebuild after the devastation of the Old Sith Wars, giving it at least some chance against the looming Sith threat. In 3681 BBY, after centuries of preparation, the Sith Empire was ready. The Emperor ordered the fleet to mobilize, and the invasion of the Republic began. The first target was the ancient Sith homeworld of Korriban. For centuries, Korriban had been under the protection of the Republic and the Jedi. A small garrison of Jedi Knights and Republic soldiers maintained a vigil over the planet, guarding against any possible Sith resurgence. But they were not prepared for the might of the Sith Empire. In a devastating surprise attack, a fleet of over 30 Sith warships launched a massive assault on Korriban. The Republic defenders were overwhelmed almost immediately. The Sith Lord Vindicant and his apprentice Darth Malgus led the charge, cutting through the Jedi forces with brutal efficiency. Though Jedi Master Cassian Darak fought valiantly to defend Korriban, he was ultimately slain by Darth Malgus in a fierce lightsaber duel. His apprentice, Satil Shan, a descendant of Bastila Shan and Revan, barely escaped with her life. The return of the Sith signaled the beginning of one of the bloodiest conflicts the galaxy had ever seen, the Great Galactic War. The Emperor, ever cunning, saw the potential to unnerve the Republic and began a campaign of psychological warfare. Imperial battlecruisers were spotted in the Tingle and Aparo sector, a remote region of space that had not been considered a strategic priority for the Republic. When reports of these movements reached Republic High Command, they assumed this was simply a minor incursion, something that could be quickly resolved through diplomacy. Naively, the Republic dispatched a lightly escorted diplomatic team to assess the situation. It was a fatal mistake. The Sith fleet allowed the Republic diplomats just enough time to send a transmission back to Coruscant, revealing the sheer size and strength of the Imperial Armada. Then, in a brutal display of power, the Sith obliterated the Republic's envoy, leaving no survivors. This calculated act of destruction sent waves of panic through the Republic. The Sith were not simply here to conquer, they were here to annihilate and demoralize, to show that no one, not even peace-seeking messengers, would be spared. As the news reached the Senate and the Jedi Council, the true scale of the threat began to dawn on them. In response to this growing threat, the Republic quickly mobilized a fleet to confront the Sith in the Tingle Arm. Led by some of the best commanders the Republic had, the fleet made its way to the planets of Belkadan, Ruria, and Cernpidal. But the Sith were ready. The Republic fleet, outmaneuvered and outgunned, fell into a carefully laid trap. Surrounded by Imperial warships and betrayed by sleeper cells within their ranks, the Republic forces were forced to scatter, retreating in disarray to Mirial in an effort to escape total annihilation. With the Tingle Arm now under Imperial control, the Sith Empire turned its gaze toward a new, valuable target, the Sluis sector, home to one of the Republic's largest shipyard facilities, Sluis Van. The Sith wasted no time. With their naval forces already dominating the region, they launched a swift and brutal attack on the Sluis Van shipyards. Republic defenses, still scattered from their defeat in the Tingle Arm, were unable to mount an effective defense. Despite the mounting losses, the Republic Senate remained divided. Many senators failed to grasp the true scale of the threat. Some argued that the Sith were simply another minor faction, one that could be defeated with the right military strategy. This group, though not in the majority, was loud enough to paralyze the Senate into inaction. Meanwhile, the Jedi Order understood that they were facing their ancient enemy, one whose power and cunning had only grown over the centuries. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, the Jedi Order took decisive action. They sent a contingent of Jedi to the Minos Cluster, a region that was also under threat from the Sith. Their mission was not only to defend the planets there, but to inspire the Republic to take the Sith seriously. The Jedi believed that if they could show the public and the Senate the true danger of the Sith, it would galvanize the Republic into action. Reports of Jedi heroism and sacrifice began to spread throughout the Holonet. Soon, lines began forming at recruitment centers across the Republic. The Republic Senate, realizing that the public would no longer tolerate inaction, began to prepare for full-scale war. With the Republic finally mobilizing its forces, the stage was set for the first major counter-offensive. The Minos Cluster, where the Jedi had dug in, became a critical battleground. Jedi defenders fortified several key worlds, including the planet Eliad, preparing for the inevitable Sith assault. At the same time, the Republic attempted to break the Sith stranglehold on the Rimmer trade route, which had been blockaded by Imperial forces. This blockade was cutting off vital supplies to the Republic troops stationed in the Minos Cluster, and without relief, the Republic's defense would collapse. In a daring operation, the Republic fleet launched a counterattack against the Sith blockade. Although the initial assault failed, the Republic forces regrouped and, in a second attempt, succeeded in breaking through the blockade, allowing much-needed supplies to reach the beleaguered troops in the Minos Cluster. The battle for the Minos Cluster continued to rage, but the Republic was no longer on the defensive. With new troops and supplies flowing in, the Republic was able to hold its ground against the Sith onslaught. 3 years into the war, the Republic received a rare opportunity. A rogue Sith apprentice leaked information about Imperial fleet movements to the Republic. It was a chance to strike back at the Sith where it would hurt the most, on their newly reclaimed homeworld of Korriban. A fierce battle erupted in orbit as Republic forces engaged the Sith fleet guarding the planet. For a moment, it seemed as though the Republic might be able to deal a crushing blow to the Empire by retaking the Sith's holy world. But the Sith were not to be undone so easily. The Republic's initial success quickly turned into a devastating defeat. The Sith defenders rallied, overwhelming the Republic invasion force and crushing them utterly. What had started as a bold attempt to cripple the Empire ended with the Republic suffering yet another brutal loss. The few survivors of the battle were either taken as prisoners or left behind as casualties of the war. Propelled by this successful defense, the Sith continued onward toward Balmorra. Balmorra was a world known throughout the galaxy for its industrial might, specifically its advanced droid and military manufacturing capabilities. The planet's weapons and droids had long fueled the Republic's military endeavors, making it a key target for the Empire's ongoing war effort. The Sith Emperor recognized that controlling Balmorra would provide the Empire with a significant advantage, not just in terms of military production, but also by cutting off a vital supply chain to the core. The invasion of Balmorra was meticulously planned by the Empire under the command of Admiral Avernus. Imperial forces didn't rely on sheer brute force at the outset. Instead, they sought to turn Balmorra's own formidable defenses against its inhabitants. By slicing into and reprogramming the planet's security systems, laboratories, and weaponry, the Empire's saboteurs triggered a cascade of chaos. One of the most devastating of these efforts occurred at Lab 352, a facility where genetic experiments on collocoids, a highly dangerous insectoid species, were being conducted. Imperial saboteurs released the mutated collocoids from containment, allowing them to overrun the facility and spread across the region. Lab 352, now known as Bugtown, became a living nightmare for the Balmorrans as the deadly creatures wreaked havoc. Simultaneously, the Empire's technicians infiltrated the renowned Okara droid factory, one of the finest military droid production facilities in the galaxy. They uploaded a virus into the factory's mainframe, intending to reprogram its droids to fight for the Empire. However, the virus malfunctioned. Rather than merely taking control of the droids, the entire facility's defense systems went rogue. The droids, programmed to protect the factory, now attacked any living being that approached. What had been a vital asset to Balmorra's defense became an uncontrollable threat to both the Republic and Imperial forces. With Balmorra's defenses in disarray and its infrastructure turned against it, the Empire launched a full-scale planetary assault. The initial wave of bombardments targeted key military installations and the planet's central government, leaving the Balmorrans without a unified leadership capable of organizing a large-scale resistance. Despite the overwhelming force of the Sith Empire, the people of Balmorra refused to be easily subjugated. In the aftermath of the invasion, a resistance movement began to form, centered around the Balmorran arms factory. This massive facility, now heavily fortified by the resistance, became the heart of Balmorra's defiance. It supplied the Republic forces and local fighters with weapons and equipment, allowing them to hold out against Imperial forces far longer than the Empire had anticipated. Guerrilla warfare became the primary strategy of the Balmorran resistance. Small bands of fighters launched hit-and-run attacks on Imperial supply lines and outposts, disappearing into the ruined landscape before the Empire could retaliate. One of the most notable areas of resistance was in a region that came to be known as Ghost Town, a small factory settlement near the Carroll River that had been wiped out during the initial invasion. The surviving inhabitants used the area's ruins as cover to launch frequent surprise attacks against the Empire. The resistance was further bolstered by Republic forces, who, recognizing the importance of Balmorra's industrial capabilities, deployed military assets to assist in the defense. However, despite their efforts, the Republic was unable to fully turn the tide of the conflict. The war for Balmorra quickly devolved into a bloody stalemate, with neither side able to achieve a decisive victory. Balmorra's resistance fighters would become legends in their own right, symbolizing the Republic's refusal to yield to the Sith. Even as much of the Outer Rim fell to the Empire, Balmorra stood as a defiant beacon, proving that the Sith's conquest, though vast, could never be complete. As the war dragged on, the Sith Empire continued its relentless advance across the galaxy. The Republic's forces were spread thin, fighting on multiple fronts, and the Sith capitalized on every weakness. The Outer Rim, rich in resources and largely underdefended, became the next target of the Sith's expanding empire. Ilum, the crystal-rich world sacred to the Jedi, fell to the Sith. Even Manaan, long neutral and protected by its vast oceans, saw its surface cities destroyed as the Sith expanded their influence. After nearly a decade of fighting, Republic intelligence estimated that the Sith Empire controlled nearly half of the Outer Rim, a devastating blow to the Republic's hopes for victory. After years of defeat, the Republic finally saw a glimmer of hope at the Battle of Bothawui. The Sith Empire, confident in its unbroken string of victories, sent a fleet to invade the mid-rim world of Bothawui. However, this time the Republic was prepared. Admiral Greek, commanding the Republic fleet, had anticipated the Sith's movements. In a bold move, he gathered the entire Republic fleet over Bothawui, setting a trap for the Empire's forces. When the Sith fleet arrived, they were caught completely off guard. The Republic forces, ready and waiting, launched a devastating counterattack. The Imperial fleet was obliterated in what would become known as the First Battle of Bothawui. After years of unrelenting defeats, the Republic had finally claimed a major victory against the Sith war machine. News of the victory spread like wildfire through the Republic. After a decade of demoralizing losses, the people of the Republic finally had something to rally around. Recruitment numbers surged, and morale among the Republic's forces improved dramatically. The Sith's aura of invincibility had been shattered, and the Republic dared to hope that the tide of the war might finally be turning. But the Sith still had some aces up their sleeve, and this was only the beginning of the Empire's sinister rise. In our next video, we'll explore the terrifying ascent of the Dreadmasters, ancient Sith lords whose mastery of fear reshaped the battlefield. We'll witness the Mandalorians' resurgence under Sith leadership, their warrior clans rallying to the Empire's cause. And finally, we'll uncover the infamous sacking of Coruscant, where Darth Malgus's brutal assault brought the Republic to its knees and changed the course of the galaxy forever. The war rages on, and its darkest chapters are yet to come. May the Force be with you.